Welcome to Barbells and Motherhood. I'm your host, Julianne Bali, owner of Motherhood Barbell. I'm a pregnancy and postpartum athleticism coach, CrossFit Level 1, and mom of 3. On this podcast, we discuss all things pre- and postnatal exercise, bust common myths such as don't lift over 20 pounds, educate about core and pelvic health, and explore all facets of motherhood. If you're a pregnant or postpartum mom that likes to throw around barbells, want to learn more about your pelvic floor and core, and looking for real research-based exercise guidance in any season of motherhood, this podcast is for you. Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining me for another episode of Barbells and Motherhood. Today, I have my friend Rachel with me, who I actually met at the Female Athlete Level 1 course in Atlanta, Georgia, this past October. And we connected there. And then I learned that Rachel is a Pilates instructor and is very knowledgeable about all of these things. So we're going to learn about Pilates from her today. So Rachel, go ahead and introduce yourself and your background and what you do and everything.
Okay. Yeah. So my name is Rachel. I am a Pilates instructor and an occupational therapist. I'm 36. I have 2 kids who are 3 and 6 years old. And I live in Atlanta, Georgia. I teach Pilates just on the weekends. I teach group reformer. And then I have a YouTube channel where I try to put out 1 or 2 videos a week of Pilates workouts.
Awesome. So when did you find Pilates and how long have you been doing it and everything?
Yeah, so I always chose like weightlifting as my main form of exercise. I never was really drawn to Pilates. I always thought it was just like stretching and it was like underwhelming to me. So it wasn't until I moved here about 3.5 years ago, and I was waiting to get licensed in Georgia for my OT, my occupational therapy license. And I had a discussion with my husband. He's like, you do not like what you do. Like you don't like the hospital, like maybe, either find a different setting or find a different career. So I remember I had gone to a course on Pilates and occupational therapy, and Pilates and yoga and occupational therapy. So I had saved the slides for that. And I thought, okay, let me just Google that and see if there's anyone in Atlanta who does, therapy and Pilates. And I found a clinic that does that. I emailed them, they had me come there, and then they taught me, where you go and the whole certification process to be a Pilates instructor. So yeah, I had a little bit of Pilates experience. Like I did it for a while because this was during COVID. So I did it until I could, take the certification exam. But until I could take that course, I was still pretty new. So it was really interesting, but I thought I would do kind of like a hybrid job of OT and Pilates, but I enjoyed Pilates so much that that's, what I do now.
Awesome. That's your full-time gig.
Yes. Yeah.
So let's start from the very basics. Somebody comes up to you and asks you, what is Pilates? What would you tell them?
Yeah, I'd say Pilates is a form of exercise. It is a lot more strength training than stretching. Like I really thought it was more stretching. I don't know why. I don't know if that's how you thought too.
Yeah, I think a lot of people have
that. I don't know if it's because of, like, I feel like Blogilates. Do you know who she is?
No, YouTube? I don't.
Yeah. It's like really just basic stretching, body weight exercise, like, arm circles, dancer arms, that kind of stuff. So, the average person will look at that and think that's not going to do much for me. But I would say it's strength training. It really is. Most of the moves come from the core. Like your core is engaged and is a vital part of the exercises. It's a lot more ab work than weightlifting, just by the way that the moves are. It doesn't have that cardio element. You kind of have to do it separate, but if you're looking for strength training, if you're looking for core, if you're trying to increase your core strength, if you're trying to increase your flexibility, it really, incorporates all that into the workouts. It's typically a full body workout. So it's different from weightlifting in that it's typically not split days.
Got it.
Yeah.
So the reformer that you use, is that something that is used all the time in Pilates, every single session, or is that something you just use sometimes?
So, yeah, there's reformer Pilates and then mat Pilates. And then there's a few other pieces of equipment too that if you're in a studio, the instructor might use that as well. If you have a private session, usually if you have a group, you probably wouldn't go to all the different pieces of equipment. You might like a club Pilates, the smaller piece of equipment everyone can do. But I mostly do reformer Pilates because I like that strength training, element. Then if I was only doing mat Pilates, I probably would do mat Pilates and I'd also do weight training, on the side. Because mat Pilates alone, to me, it's just not enough. It's not, you wouldn't get that resistance training component in there.
So the reformer is really providing resistance training. That's using your body to have resistance, basically.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah, it definitely builds on the mat work. Like a lot of the exercises are really quite similar, but it adds if you were looking to build muscle, you would definitely gain more muscle from, the reformer versus mat. But I was surprised with the mat exercises. Like I thought I don't know, I guess I just did not value body weight exercises at all. This is my own bias coming into it, but people would tell me, wow, I got in the best shape when I was doing my mat class, my certification course. I'm like, really? Like not the reformer? Because reformer is resistance. Like you'd think it would be that way, but it's really true. It's so hard on your core. And some of the moves you can't do until you really build up that strength. So it's humbling, but it's kind of exciting and cool to see, things to work up towards.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. I think I would. Very embarrassing if I tried.
Yeah, it's surprising. But it's cool.
Insane amount of strength and stability. Well, and I remember that being part of when we were at the course together in Georgia. Yes. You were volunteering for. You were like laying on your back and you were like moving your legs back and forth. And I was just like, man, that girl is so strong. The course that you had to like control your legs, like it's impressive. So I'm always very impressed by all these things.
Thank you. I know. I mean, I was impressed too. It's cool just to see what, if you continually do Pilates, that you will surprise yourselves with the stuff that you could do,
Oh, absolutely. And so then let's go into how Pilates has changed your life and, specifically how your body functions.
Yeah. So I would say, initially when I started Pilates, I felt really conflicted. Like, okay, I knew there were benefits for my pelvic floor, for my core, because I was only 6 months postpartum when I started doing Pilates. So I knew I needed help with that. And then flexibility, like I would never stretch after workouts. Like I definitely neglected that part of my fitness regimen. So I knew it was good for me. But then at the same time, it's like when you have little kids and you're just trying to work out during nap time and you have 30 minutes, I'm like, do I just do this little mat Pilates workout? Like, is that going to do anything for me? So I realized, everyone has different needs, I guess, for what they want out of fitness. And for some people, they say mat Pilates is all that you need. But for me, it just wasn't, So once I was able to start going to reformer classes, I'm like, okay, this is for me, because then I can really get all those benefits of that core work, the pelvic floor, but also get that strength training component. And I don't feel like I need to go work out after I do a Pilates workout, And then once I was able to get a reformer at home, that really helps. So now I mostly just do, reformer workouts, and then I'll do cardio maybe like twice a week.
Really cool. And so what did you notice like in your day-to-day like life and your day-to-day physical demands? Like how did you see Pilates improve those things?
Yeah, I'd say definitely with my pelvic floor, like improving the strength there, because I had bladder prolapse after my first child. And then I went to physical therapy when I was pregnant with my second one, because I didn't want it to happen again. And then since I started doing Pilates, really would notice a difference because it was pretty mild, but like right before my cycle, I'd start to feel symptoms. But then I noticed once I started doing Pilates consistently, like at least 3 days a week, I would not get symptoms anymore. So that was a big one. That was probably one of the best ones for me because it's so uncomfortable to have bladder prolapse. And then strength, I felt strong, but I felt strong before, but this was like, it was different because you're trying to master certain moves. And that was different for me because with lifting weights, it's like so basic, like bicep curl. Like I could physically do everything. Maybe it's just like at a lighter weight. So some of these moves I just physically couldn't do. And yes, it's humbling, but at the same time, it's like, wow, this is kind of cool. It's a cool challenge. And it make me come back for more because I want to see what I could do and how I could impress myself, And then just like that mind body kind of connection, they talk about that a lot in Pilates of, the breathing element and really focusing on, trying to do the moves with a lot of stability and, with the right form. So it's a little like therapeutic in a way to be really mindful, in the type of exercise that you do. So, and then also, just stretching more, like every Pilates workout, they try to incorporate spine flexion, extension, rotation. So I found them just like good posture and feel more flexible. So
It sounds like there's a lot of really good overlap with like pelvic health and
yes,
the
yeah.
breath and
Hmm.
connecting
Yeah.
to your body. Like that's something really important, like postpartum, that you want to focus
Yes.
on, and connecting with your breath, recoordinating your core system. And so it sounds like Pilates would be a really good option for
Yeah.
being able to utilize all of those different things with an exercise.
I know. And I never did Pilates when I was pregnant for either of my pregnancies. And I thought, man, like first trimester, I was so sick for both. Pilates would have been such a good thing to do because you could just lie on the floor and do exercises, and still work on strengthening. And like all I did was go to the gym and walk like 1 mile per hour because I was nauseous, but I was still trying to show up and do something.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think Pilates is great in early trimester. I mean, throughout the whole thing, but especially those times where you just feel tired, but you want to move,
Yeah.
It's a great thing to do.
Yeah. And I lost my thought. What was I going to say?
Mhm.
I had a thought and now it's gone. But
It's
anyways,
okay.
yeah, I think that is, oh, I remember now. Yeah. It's another option of ways that we can move our body, because I feel like a lot of
Yes.
us also get stuck in the one way that we like to exercise or the one way we like to do things. And, trying new things and using our body in different ways, in a variety of ways, is so beneficial. And so I think Pilates would be a great option for connecting you to a lot of different ways to move as well. Do you think that Pilates is a great like foundation to doing all other kinds of movement?
Hmm. Yeah, definitely. Because even like I noticed this, and I've had friends who've started Pilates do this. They say that you just like you feel your core so different when you go, even when you go back to weightlifting. Like it's
Mm,
just like obviously it's always been turned on, but you're just so aware of how it's involved in your arm work and your leg work, and it's like you just develop this deeper relationship with your core after you do Pilates. So yeah, it totally translates to other types of movement.
yes, that's so fascinating, because that is a huge missing piece to a lot of athletes,
Hmm.
and to a lot of athletes' performance, and the way that they're even, a lot of core is involved in, because I'm in the CrossFit world, so much core is involved in like Olympic lifting, especially Olympic lifting, front squats, like all of the elements that include our core. And a lot of people are never taught how to have that connection and awareness of our core and the stability that we need from it, and our breath. And, obviously, like I've learned these things way later in life, but it's so cool that that is just what Pilates is. And it's like, oh, now I kind of wish that I had known about Pilates all those years ago, and
I
how
know.
it can affect everything else.
Yeah, it really is. I mean, I think especially thinking like if it could be presented to people like as a supplement, like
Mm,
a cross training, it doesn't have to be like you need to, once you start Pilates, that's all you have to do. Like to
yeah.
me, it's like for me, yes, that is pretty much all that I
Yeah.
do because I can make it really challenging the way that I like it. But I feel like marketing wise, we need to do a better job of being like, hey, we really can help you be better at your sports and, whatever other type of activities that you like to do.
Yeah. Like using Pilates as a bridge. And if you do like it, that can be whatever you do too, you know, because you are saying like you can make it variable and have it be useful in so many different ways if you want it to be. And I think that's really cool. I don't know a lot of sports that you can say that.
Yeah,
I think that's
I
really
know.
fascinating.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so, as a Pilates instructor, what do you see, you know, for us that want to maybe start Pilates or try it out? What are some of the common faults that you see with newer athletes that you correct, or things that we can look out for as we start, if we ever wanted to try to go and try Pilates?
Yeah, I think probably one of the biggest things, which I thought too, is it seems super simple, but what we often say is if it feels really easy, you're probably doing it wrong because you really have to listen to the cues and the corrections. That's what's I think if you could go initially with a private, you know, with an instructor, private sessions, you're going to get a lot out of it because you know, you're instructed to do a move and then they'll say, okay, do this move, but don't move this, or this. And then you realize, oh, that's actually really challenging.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, just by looking at a YouTube video, let's say, you might think that workout is so easy. But then when you try it with the right form, it's really challenging. So to me, that's like the biggest thing for beginners. And what I experienced myself too is really try to focus on form and try to get an instructor who cares. And most of them, we're all trained like that, so they should. But yeah, be trying to think what I want the word to be. I don't know. Like for me, when I first did all cardio, when I first started, and then I went to weightlifting, and I thought weightlifting was really underwhelming. I don't know if you were like that, where you did like only cardio, and then like, well, my heart rate's not up, and I'm not burning all these calories. Like, what is this
Yeah.
doing for me? You know?
Yeah.
And that transition for me from weightlifting to Pilates, that kind of felt the same way. It felt like a little underwhelming. But then the more that you get into it and start to master it, you realize how challenging it can be and all the little work that is going on in your body. Yeah, it's interesting, but just I would say stick with it, be consistent with it. You know, try it for at least a couple months if you can, you know, if you like it enough.
Yeah, for sure. And so, did you do Pilates? I can't remember what you said. Did you find it after you had babies, or did you do Pilates during one of your pregnancies?
No, I only did weightlifting. Yeah.
Okay.
Before. And then yeah, it was like 6 months postpartum of my
Okay.
second child.
Oh, of your second. Okay, got it.
Yeah.
So it's
That I did
post
Pilates.
babies. But then
Yes.
you said that you did find improvement with like your prolapse symptoms, and that is
Yeah.
really cool.
Yes.
But do you have any clients or people in your classes that have been pregnant that have been doing Pilates?
You know, at my studio, they're mostly older, like I'd say like 40 plus.
Got it.
So I don't get many pregnant women.
Got
No. But one of the big reasons I even took Antony's course is because even with my YouTube workouts, people would say, you know, can I do this postpartum or can I do this when pregnant? And I'm
Yeah.
like, oh, I don't know, you know,
I don't know.
there's some crunching. I don't think so, you know. So that was my big thing with coming to see him is like, okay, what are people allowed to do, you know?
Yeah.
And I'm realizing, you know, there was like just this big nose list of a lot of things that I thought they couldn't do. And then going to his course, I'm like, oh, actually, they probably can do everything on my page just with a few modifications, you know?
Right. Yeah. I was going to ask, like, what was your takeaway from that course for yourself in the Pilates world?
Yeah. I mean, you know, the big thing with Pilates is a lot of people market Pilates like, oh, it's so great for pregnancy and postpartum because you can just do like TVA breathing and, you know, just really basic stuff, like not heavy crunches. And, but if, you know, if that's not really research, like evidence-based research, like if we can do more, then we're holding people back. Like that was huge to hear, you know, for me, because I want to be strong and I don't want to be limiting myself. And I really limited myself ab wise in both my pregnancies because I thought I couldn't do anything, you know, no crunching like that. Yeah.
Oh man. Yes. It's so common that course, the female athlete level 1, just completely opens the eyes to so many of us of like, oh yeah, we have been limiting the way that we have been believing about things. And that, you know, that's great that you were able to come away from it saying, oh yeah, they can do a whole lot more. It looks different probably for a lot of it, but the breath and all of the different variables can make it that you can do these things during pregnancy and postpartum. And definitely gradually, like anything postpartum, we want to get into it gradually and make sure that, because you were saying a lot of the movements are difficult and take more strength before you can really master them. And so like having that in mind going into it postpartum, that gradual strength will need to be built in the core, but that you can absolutely do it and that it'll benefit your life in so many ways. I love that.
Yeah. And one of the things with Pilates, we are really taught about like progressions and regressions. So it's like, here's the basic move, but if you want to make it challenging, do this, this, this. If you want to make it easier, this, this, this. Like we are really taught that. And, you know, I noticed Anthony, he would do that with us with trying to do different moves. Like, okay, try this. Okay, you can't do that. All right, let's do it this way. You know, you weren't aware that he's giving you the harder or easier one. But that's how we do that with Pilates too. So even in my YouTube, when I film my YouTube workouts, I do always try to include at least, you know, 2 options of what you could do. You can keep your legs down. You want to make it harder, put it in tabletop. Want to make it even harder, extend your legs. You know, it's really easy for us to modify in that way. So I like that we're trained, you know, to progress or regress.
Yes, absolutely. That is so needful, and because everybody's at a different baseline, everyone has a different experience, different background. Some of them are pregnant, some of them aren't. And so we can always find a way to adapt. I think that's something that is still new to a lot of people, especially in the pre-postnatal world, of you can do a lot of the things still during pregnancy. We just have to adapt them, and that's fine. And so I love that that is a part of what you are putting out online, and that that's just like a common thing, is that there's always a level for you to be able to be successful at.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so tell us a little more about your YouTube and what you do online to help in the Pilates world.
Yeah, so I started my YouTube because I was only teaching initially I was only teaching 1 weekend a month. And I thought, okay, it's going to take forever for me to be good at teaching, you know, if it's at this rate, you know, because I have little kids at home, I'm not working during the week. So I thought, okay, I'll make a YouTube channel. At least that way I get way more practice with programming, with teaching. And it's helped so much, you know, just for my own practice and, you know, form corrections. How do you break something down? That type of thing. And the more that I've gotten into it, I'm like, okay, who am I really targeting, right? Like what kind of workouts? Because there's people who do more kind of stretchy Pilates workouts. And initially I was like, okay, just do the way that I was taught. And then I realized, okay, why not fold in more of my weight training? Like that's what I love, you know? And there are a lot of people who are looking at Pilates more than ever now, who come from a strength training background, and maybe they are like me, who are a little underwhelmed with what they've seen from Pilates. So why not make workouts that they would enjoy too? And even with Reformer, you know, I pull in like actual weights, you know, into the classes and can try to make it more cardio. You know, not every instructor does that or even likes to do that. So that's my own little unique, you know, touch to that. If you're coming for stretching, you're probably not going to like my classes. I do some like low key stuff, but I have like a beginner ab series I did in January it's like, you know, you do it twice a week for 4 weeks, a little bit over 4 weeks, really trying to break down the different ab exercises. And, you know, in Anthony's course, he talked about like evidence-based cueing. So that's important to me, to talk in a way that people like that makes them move their body better, and not necessarily the way that I was taught, you know, in Pilates. So that's something that's really important to me too, because I don't want people to watch my videos and feel like they don't know what I'm talking about, and they feel like there's something wrong with them. Right. You know, that's just not true. So yeah, I want them to be challenging, but also easy to understand, easy to follow. And yeah, it's been really fun.
That's awesome. I am so happy for you. I'm glad that has been something that has helped you grow as well. And I love that you are making it accessible to so many people, and helping, again, having Pilates, the misconceptions about Pilates and the myths kind of go away by the way that you're presenting it. So thank you so much for doing that.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, I think, it helps that I came from that world too. And I was skeptical and I was underwhelmed because I know that there's people who feel that same way. And, I just picture myself at 20. Like if I saw my videos at 20, I'm not, older now, but I want those hard workouts. And I know I would have looked at that and said, oh, wow. I actually feel like that would be something that I would be interested in.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Like just continue to break those barriers. And are there any other services that you offer, like one-on-one virtual coaching? Like what else do you offer?
So I don't do that yet, but I am starting to get in that process because I do want to start doing online. Yeah. So
Nice.
getting all that figured out of all the forms and scheduling and, things I need to make it slow work, well.
The tech, man. The tech behind the scenes.
You do that, right? You do?
Yeah, it's just, there's a lot of things to figure out, but you will do great.
Yeah.
And again, you are in person, right? On the week?
Yeah, so I do weekends at a studio called Stability Pilates and Physical Therapy. It's in Sandy Springs. It's a suburb of Atlanta. And then I eventually would like to see people in my home too. So
that would be awesome.
Yeah, I would like as well.
That is awesome. Well, thank you so much, Rachel. Where can we find you online and your YouTube channel and everything?
Yeah, so my YouTube channel is called Rachel's Fit Pilates. And then my Instagram is the same. It's Rachel's Fit Pilates. Awesome. I had to throw that little fit in there because I wanted people to know that it's not stretch Pilates.
Yes, I think that's important. Yeah, marketing terms are really important to being able to get the right eyes on your stuff. So thank you so much.
Yeah, I was gonna say it's funny. I initially was gonna call my page Rest Day Pilates because I really thought of it like rest day workouts. But then the more I got into Pilates, I'm like, wait a minute, it can be really challenging. And that's kind of the route I wanted to go. So that's why I ended up changing it. And I'm so happy I did because I can make the workouts that I enjoy and that other people seem to be enjoying too. So
yes, very on brand and very perfect. Thank you. I'm very inspired to go try some Pilates now. And you are too. Go check out Rachel's Fit Pilates and see what you think. And if you guys try out Pilates, let us know. Send Rachel a message and say, hey, I tried it out and I like it and I have questions. So she'd probably love to be a resource for you. Do you have anything else you'd like to add about Pilates?
I don't think so. I think, we kind of covered everything.
Well, perfect. Well, thank you so much for joining me.
Yeah, thank you. It was a pleasure.